G'day everyone, it's Warren Davies, the Unbreakable Farmer. Welcome to On the Wire. Another episode today with another fantastic guest. I have Geoff Hetherington, the Clarity CEO, with me today, all the way up in New South Wales. Thanks for joining me, Geoff. How are you?
I'm great, Warren. Thanks, and thanks for having me on. Good to catch up with you again, man. You're looking well.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we've caught up, but it's always good to catch up with you.
Yeah, thanks. So I don't know. Tell who is this? Who is this ugly guy? Tall, ugly man, beard and glasses.
That's where I was going. I was just going to ask you that. So we'll get straight into it and I'm going to ask you what you do, and then we can backtrack a little bit from there and find out how you got to where you are now.
Oh, okay. You say it's a lot longer than half an hour. No, it's all right. I'll be good. Look, what I am, I'm a business coach, and I hate the term coach because too many people who aren't good at it use it. A coach to me is a horse. There's a carriage with a horse in front and four wheels that takes people for a ride. I don't take people for a ride, so I have a problem with the term coach. But really what I do is I've been sort of helping people, business owners in particular, create clarity out of chaos, and I've been doing that since about 2007. So that's my main thing, and that's on top of 30 odd years as a CEO. 14 different industries, and I've had 5 years based in Jakarta. So I've been around the block a few times.
Yeah, so the coaching is what you do now. So probably explain a little bit of that. Obviously, the Clarity CEO. The CEO part's fairly apt to describe you because that's what you've done for most of your life, being CEO positions in major businesses.
Yeah, I have. What I found was around about 2006, 2007, I wasn't really terribly happy with what I was doing. I was working with Telstra at that time. I was in their top 20 executives, but I was also going through some child custody battles, which puts an awful lot of hassles onto you, adds a lot of pressure, because like it or not, if you're a male and you're dealing with people like child support, you're a Nazi, you're no good, you're horrible, and they do everything they can to make your life miserable. And there was more than a couple of times where I was thinking about long walks off short piers quite seriously. And of course, during all that, Telstra then goes around and says, we want you to move to Melbourne and work directly for the CEO, which is a great step up. But if I did that, I would have lost the shared custody with my son. So I had to say no to that. And 3 weeks later, I was declared surplus to requirements. But 3 weeks before that phone call asked me to move to Melbourne, I'd just been told that they were going to send me to America to do a course for senior executives. So go figure.
And I suppose that's something that's happening more regularly these days in big industries, is that don't come to work on Monday kind of scenario for people. And I suppose that's a good reason to have you on today, is then to describe what steps that you took once that happened to you to get to yourself to where you are today. Because a lot of people find that once they get that don't come to work on Monday, what do they do then? They've probably worked in that industry or whatever for 20 or 30 years, and now they don't know what they're going to do.
Look, it guts you. It guts you, especially when it comes out of left field. I mean, it's not the first time I've been made redundant, but normally you get a feel that you're not fitting in or the management's changing direction. And if you're middle management or above, that's one of the risks. Now, in Australia in particular, the last 10 years, we've seen a huge reduction in the number of middle managers in business. Partly that's due to technology, partly that's just due to people having this idea that they've got to return value to shareholders. The interesting thing about that is if you actually read the Corporations Act, it says the CEO and the board are responsible for looking after the welfare of the business, not the shareholders. But every time we hear the banks talk, we've got to return value to the shareholders. Bullshit. That's not what the corporation's charter says. But anyway, that's what we're getting away with.
It's amazing that you picked that up, because especially in the dairy industry at the moment, if you've been reading about all the stuff that's happened over the last 12 months, and that's one of the big things that the companies come back with all the time. We've got to look after the shareholders. Admittedly, one of the companies was a co-op, and the shareholders were the dairy farmers predominantly. But that's the line that they use a fair bit.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's not the legal line, it's not the legal definition under the Corporations Act, but it's a nice spin line they've used. The media have picked it up, and they say it so often, like a lot of general lies, if you like. You say it often enough and loudly enough, people start to believe it. So So that's what happened there. So look, what I did, I was very fortunate in the sense that, having been a CEO off and on for 30 odd years, when I was made redundant, I got enough money to probably not have to work for a few months. So rather than dive straight in and find something and panic with things, I stepped back and I decided to think about what I wanted to do. Was there a new industry I wanted to try? Was there new skills? And I actually went from the Telstra thing to running a modular building company, which is completely different. Had some real fun there. And then I ended up becoming a CEO of a data management business. And all I'll say about that is that you should never work for a company where the majority of directors on your board are also your biggest clients. That makes it very tough. Essentially what happened there was I just made the decision to leave. It was tough because you never leave a warm bed for a cold bed, but I was under so much pressure from a couple of the directors, phone calls Sunday night, 6 o'clock in the morning, them asking me to do things which weren't really legal in order to prop up their businesses, which had overextended during the global financial crisis. So a lot of pressure there. Being a CEO is really quite a high pressure role anyway. And when
but at the same time, you've got to stick to your morals and your values as well. So if you're getting asked to do stuff that are outside your morals or values, it's not going to end well anyway, because you're in conflict with yourself all the time.
Well, I decided a long time ago that every morning the guy looked back at me out of the bathroom mirror was someone I wanted to feel pretty happy about. And the only way you do that is to clearly understand your values and what makes you tick, and then to stick to those no matter what. So, there's been a number of instances in my life where it would have been really easy to go against my values and earned a lot more money or a lot more kudos or whatever. But for whatever reason, I haven't done that. And I'm still pretty happy with the bloke who looks back at me every morning from the mirror. So that's not too bad.
Oh, that's good. So where to from there? Like you've told them to go and get stuffed. Where do you?
Well, the interesting thing is, I'd sort of hit 50 by then too, right? So I'm a bit of an old fart. But beforehand, I'd get 1 or 2 phone calls a week from headhunters asking me to come and talk to them about jobs in other companies and all that. And I used to say no, because I'm employed and I've signed a contract and all that sort of stuff. It's interesting. Once I cracked 50 and I'd been stopped working for a couple of months, what happened there was the phone stopped ringing. And I got in touch with a few of these headhunters and they went, mate, you're 50 now.
Yeah.
So I had the age issue as well. I mean, I don't like to think I look 57, but hey, but I had the age issue crop up as well.
The old scrap heap syndrome.
Yeah, that's right. when I was in Indonesia for 5 years, I ran 5 businesses simultaneously. I had 14,000 staff spread across 200 islands, and the smallest one of the businesses was turning over $500 million US a year. So I know how to run big businesses, but anyway, wasn't getting anywhere there. So I was wondering what to do. And a mate of mine was running a gym up here on the Central Coast. He had 250 members. He had an accountant, he had a bookkeeper, and he had a business coach. And he asked me to look at his business because he thought he was going broke. And I found that hard to believe. And I looked at it, and he was about 14 weeks from bankruptcy. So I fixed that for him, which meant sacking those 3 people. The business coach in particular had been giving him dreadful advice about things, and we fixed that. So when that got going, he just said to me, oh, look, meet so-and-so, he's one of my clients, he's got trouble in his business. So I had to look at this guy's, we had a different business coach. We had a business coach and accountant. Crappy advice, fixed his business, introduced me to someone else. By the time I'd done the 3rd person, I thought, all I'm doing is using the skills I've developed over 30 plus years at a C-level executive and having a hell of a lot more fun, because I'm actually helping real people solve real problems, and I'm getting that immediate feedback. I'm not doing it because it's the company strategy or because the board of directors wants it. I was actually doing it because some guy was able to grow his business, or he was able to put an extension on his house, or he was actually able to hire 3 more guys, which meant their families were looked after. So that's where I started doing the coaching thing. And I've been doing it ever since.
And that's a common theme that's been going through, and if anyone's watched any of the previous interviews, the common theme that most people are talking about is that, I suppose, the buzz of helping people and getting that immediate feedback from actually helping somebody one-on-one or one to a company or whatever it is. And a lot of the people that have been on, that's one of the lines that they talk about a fair bit.
Yeah, look, it's an important thing. I mean, you've also got to be careful too, because you can do too much what I call good karma work, which means you're helping a lot of people, but you're not putting food on your own family's table. And that actually became a problem for me, especially up here on the Central Coast. There's an awful lot of small business people, or a lot of people who just didn't want a boss, so they started their own business, and they're really not business people at all. But they also either they can't pay, or they don't want to pay, or they want everything for free. And it's very easy if you like helping people to get caught up in the trap of giving your time and expertise for nothing.
Yeah.
And the classic is, hey Geoff, can I take you for a cup of coffee? Well, that's code for I want to pick your brain, so I know how to fix my business. So what I do now is I go, absolutely, let's have a cup of coffee. It'll only cost you $200. I'll give you 30 minutes of my time, and I guarantee you get 3 strategies for your business afterwards.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone says, yeah, great, let's do it, I don't charge them the $200 because I know they're serious. But you know what? All the tire kickers have disappeared now.
Yeah.
I don't get all those users and all those takers. But I did for a couple of years there. Man, I was doing coffee all the bloody time. I was shaking from all the caffeine.
I was just going to say, your hands are a bit more steadier now. You're not on the top and not on as much caffeine.
Yeah, absolutely. But it literally became dreadful. So one of the things that helped me was I signed up and did this Key Person of Influence program about 6 years ago. It's an entrepreneur accelerator thing, and it's been going for a while. And I went through in the second program they ran in Australia, in the very first Sydney group, and that exposed me to a room of 54 other entrepreneurs and business owners, ranging from people who were starting up to people that had so-so business like me to people that were doing 7 figures, fast. And we all went through this same process of understanding how to pitch your business and create your product architecture and publishing your IP and all that sort of fantastic program. The thing is, there was a lot of people who didn't know how to implement what they were learning. So I started helping people, but because I was a bit smarter, I was charging. I wasn't charging probably what it was worth, but I was charging. So to this day, I'm still the national coach for that particular bob. They actually engaged me to do that, which is great. So they're one of my clients, and I get a lot of clients from there, which is good.
And I highly recommend, just even going to the brand accelerator.
They call it a business accelerator now. Absolutely fantastic.
That's a fantastic day to go along. Even if you don't take it any further, just to spend a day in a room with all those people, and drinks afterwards. You get to network with some fairly smart people.
Yes, fairly impressive people, I'd say. So yeah, I've loved it, being involved with that as one of my sort of clients. But I mean, look, my clients currently range from a local financial planner to some executives at Telstra. So one of the things they teach you in classic marketing is you must have a niche. Well, most people teach you a niche by demographics. So, with you doing the sort of farm management stuff you do, your niche could be dairy farmers. Yeah. But the other way you niche is by the solution, by the problem you solve and the solution you do. So my niche is anyone who actually wants clarity about their business and wants to learn the 20% of business will actually help them achieve their goals. That's what I do. Yeah. Because I can't turn around and say, I only work with left-handed plumbers who drive Mitsubishi Pajeros. I can't niche like that.
Yeah. So, especially on the Central Coast. You definitely won't be drinking coffee then.
Oh, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah. So when you go into, when you get a client or a client approaches you, what are the I suppose the first things that you look at to see how you can help them? I understand that everyone's probably a little bit different, but there'd be key things that you're looking for.
I suppose a step back from that is I audition my clients now. When you start off, if they're warm, upright breathing and can pay something, they're in, right? Yeah. Please.
Lock the doors.
But what is that? So I try and run my business on a fortnightly cycle. So 1 week would be heavy for client face-to-face type stuff or coaching calls. And the other week's heavy on me, either writing stuff for clients or actually writing stuff for my own business. So I used to have every second Tuesday, I'd wake up and I go, I'm going to see Gary and Tim today. They were some financial planners I worked with for 3 years. And and they were great. I go and see them, they're enthusiastic, they did whatever I told them in the previous fortnight to do, and they just wanted more and more and more to do. And then every Wednesday, I'd wake up and I go, oh shit, I got to go see Jan today. Yep. Jan was one of those vampire type people, right? Nothing was her fault, wouldn't do any of the work, and was bitching because nothing was happening. So I sacked Jan that morning. Wasn't happy with losing $5,000 a month income, but I sacked her. She said, you can't sack me, I employ you. And I went, no, sweetheart, that's exactly the wrong way to think about it. I'm out, goodbye. And I got out to the car, and I actually felt good, even though the money had dropped. And I went, I wonder if I've got any other Jans. And I realised I had 2 more clients that fell into the Jan category. So from her car part, I rang them and I got rid of them and reduced my income by a further $10,000 per month, which wasn't good, but I felt better. So now I will occasionally take on a Jan because they've been referred by an existing client or a friend or a family member, in which case I apply an annoyance tax to what I charge them. Yeah. But other than that, I don't do that. So the people I look for are the people who go, I don't know what I don't know about getting my business to the next level. It's called being unconsciously incompetent. So there's 4 levels to learning. So you start off not knowing what you don't know, unconsciously incompetent. Then you realize some of the stuff you don't know, so you become consciously incompetent. Then you start knowing the stuff, so you become consciously competent, you've got to think about it, and then eventually you do it automatically and become unconsciously competent. So it's like driving a car. When you're a kid, you look at a car, you don't know what you don't know, it looks like fun. Then you get to be a teenager and you've got to do pedals and all that sort of shit, so you realize there's stuff I don't know. Then you do your driving lessons, so now you're consciously competent, you know what to do, and then you get to be an old fart like us, and we just hop in the car and drive, we don't even think about it, right?
So when you stop and think about it, then the car analogy is a good one. When you stop and think about it, it's scary sometimes.
It gets tough. All the stuff that you're able to do without thinking. Yeah. So what I do is I look for clients who actually are either feeling like they're stuck in Groundhog Day, or they don't understand why they're not doing better than they are. So my whole thing is to try and help people get clarity so that they can develop their business so their family can live a larger life, and they can get the head space and the wallet space to give back to their community. And the only way they do that's by being successful. So my whole thing is finding those people who are going, I know it can be doing so much more for my family. I know it should be, and I don't know what to do to get there. So jump in, spend a day with me. I do this thing called a detangling day, where I lock you and me in a room for 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours with a whiteboard. We pull your whole business apart and we rebuild everything from your ideal clients to your pricing to your product architecture, and you walk out with a 12-month plan of things to do every month for 12 months that'll help you achieve your goals. And before you get in the room with me, you've got to fill in 12 pages of pre-work, which helps me understand where your head's at, where your business is at, and all that sort of stuff. But the most common thing is, for the clients I like to work with, is they know there's something more they can be doing, but they also know they can't do it by themselves. And as you know as well as I do, it's really tough to ask for help. But the ones that do are the ones who are going to succeed. You can't do it by yourself. No,
I totally agree with that. So just changing tact a little bit now and moving away from your business. I know that you've achieved some stuff outside your business. Obviously, I've heard you speak and you talk about your smoking and stuff like that. Give us a little bit of an insight into the not business world of Geoff.
The most precious possession I've got is a piece of paper that's about that size. It's got a coffee stain on it, and my then 5-year-old son wrote on that piece of paper. So very quick bit of history. My second marriage had gone kablooey. I'd got with another woman, Brady Bunch, bringing kids together. My son from the marriage that had gone kablooey, I adopted him when I was in Indonesia. He was literally the size of my forearm when I brought him home from the orphanage. So he's now 5 years old, and I'm not living with his mum anymore, and I get him every second week sort of thing. And I'm in a new job. I'm not liking the boss. I'm not liking the board of directors. The CEO had been there before me, had gutted the place. So I was trying to do an awful lot with no money. So I'd come home overnight and I'd sit outside and I'd pour one finger of scotch, not the usual one, but the vertical one. And I'd have a pipe and I'd have a couple of cigarillos. And I wasn't exercising, I wasn't eating well, I wasn't sleeping, but I was trying to do all this for the new family, and I had stress every way I looked at, and I had child support hammering me. It was really a tough time. And anyway, I'm sitting there one day and I'm smoking, and well on the way to a heart attack and all that. So my son comes up and taps me on the shoulder and gives me this little piece of paper. And on this little piece of paper, it says, Michael's dad will not smoke for a million billion years because Michael doesn't want his dad to die. It still gets me even now. Sorry. And I had a space there. And he said, Dad, my dad can only smoke if Michael gives him permission, which I won't. And then had a place for me to sign it. So tears in the eyes, genuinely choked up. I signed that damn piece of paper, put it to one side, stubbed out my cigarillo, and I haven't smoked since. And that was 13 years ago.
Yeah, when I heard you tell that live, it was an emotional story because obviously you had your PowerPoint in the background with the note, and it's a good story, and obviously it's good for your health. You've stopped smoking. As you said, you haven't been smoking for 13 years, and still probably drink too much. Red wine is still weakness, but no. Seriously, a 6-year-old saved my life. That's how I think about it. And that's amazing, and I'm glad that you've shared that story because that's what I was hoping that you would share. It's fantastic. We'll come close shortly, and so what are 3 pieces of advice? And obviously I'm not trying to be a vampire and
no. I wouldn't be. It's
but
fine.
what are 3 pieces of advice that you would give someone that was struggling?
Okay, the first thing is to understand that our heads tend to operate a bit like a computer. We keep running like code, and the best way to stop a code that's not is to disrupt it. So Michael disrupted all the shit I had running in my head by basically saying, Dad, I don't want you to die, sign here. That completely smashed all the stuff that was running in my head and made me step back and take a thing. So one of the things to understand is no matter how bad it is, it's the best you've got at the moment to work with it. And if you really are thinking about ending it, and I did very serious and a couple of times work stuff out, you've also got to realise that most of the time you just have to sleep on it. Yeah. And you'll get through. Okay. So
take a deep breath.
So 3 things, right? Firstly is identify the things you can control when everything else seems like it's crushing you. So that means you take charge of your health. I don't mean you go out and start squatting your body weight and doing 300 push-ups, but you know what, you might decide that every morning, hell or high water, you're going to go for a walk for 20 minutes. And then you're going to look at your diet and you're going to maybe cut out some shit or cut down the number of beers you have or fags you smoke or stop smoking entirely. You might decide that instead of watching television mindlessly, you're going to try and watch some documentaries or read a book or something. But the key point is when you feel like the whole world is out of your control, is to find things you can control, identify them, and then actually work with them. I've got this little thing here. You can't really see that, but they're my 12 rules for 2017. I've got a copy here on my desk and I've got a copy up in there, and it's a bit woo. I go, I'm alcohol free in February, July and October. I don't drink those 3 months of the year. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat highly processed foods. I have 2 glasses of wine a night. I'm working on that one. I usually have more, but I'm trying to be good. I exercise every day, etc. So I've written some stuff there, and it's all based around stuff that I can actually control. Because then no matter whatever else happens, there's like a sanctuary where I'm my own captain and the rest of the world can't goddamn. So that's the first thing, is to do that. The second thing is get help. Ask someone, and family and friends is a good place to start, but they may not be the right people to help you. You might have to get expert advice. So whether it's counselling because mentally you're just so goddamn fatigued, whether it's a personal trainer to help you get fit again, whether it's a business guy who can just look at your business and go, here's the 5 things you do, or it might even be a debt count. I don't know. It depends what the problem is, but find the things you can control and then get help with the things you can't control. That's the main thing. And the third thing is hold fast. It will end. And so much of the problems we have, which seem huge, let's be honest, they're first world problems. You and I and our kids aren't walking 6 kilometres with an old kerosene tin to get water every morning. We're not doing that sort of shit. We've got food on the table. No matter how bad things get, we can get food on the table. And because I spent 5 years in Indonesia and I saw some of the extremes in Asia of poverty and whatnot, no matter how bad it gets, we're still in a pretty good place. So they're the three things, right? Identify and start operating and controlling the things you can. Get help for the things you can't, and that might mean 2 or 3 different types of people. There is advice, but ask someone for Christ's sake. And the third thing is realise that no matter how bad it is, there are people a hell of a lot worse off than we are. You know, being born in Australia means you're in the top 5% of lucky people in the world.
Yeah, so we've got to make sure that we appreciate that, and it's amazing. Once again, a common theme that's been coming through all these chats that I've been having with people is that surrounding yourself with a team of people. Like life's a team sport, and you've got to build a team around you.
What's that quote? I think it was Jim Rohn said the quote, you know, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So that's probably 3A, is to look at the people you're spending all your time with. And if they're holding you back or they're dragging you down, then maybe it's time to change. I mean, I did have a space there for a while in my life where people I was trying to build and change and grow and become more successful. And the people I were around were sort of like, yeah, you'll never do that, you know, or you got a good job, why would you like to change, and all that sort of stuff. And they were dragging me down, largely because of their own conflicts and problems they had. And it was really tough, but I started distancing myself from those people and started trying to work with people who sort of got the idea that it's a great thing to keep growing as an individual. And that was tough, man.
Well, I've found that you can still associate with those people, but you just need to build a bigger circle of friends as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and a little bit of distance. And I mean, you know, that's my second marriage, the big problem there was that she stopped growing and wanting to grow, and I didn't.
Yeah.
So, you know.
It was a little bit like my farming business. That's what happened with my parents and I, and we just kept, our ideas got further apart.
Yeah, and that can be really tough when it's people close to you. But yeah, look, you know, life's whatever it is. I don't know if we pass this way more than once. You know, I've got friends who are absolutely caught up in the idea of the Hindu wheel of life, and in which case I keep wondering who the hell I killed in my last life. But you know, whether we do it or not, it's the only thing we've got. And I honestly believe we've got all the time to do whatever we want to do. The problem is we can't do everything. So we've got to start making some really conscious choices. And I mean, I wish someone had told me that when I was 18 or 20 or 21, because I probably would have lived a different life. I mean, I haven't had a bad life. I'm not bitching and complaining compared to whether I've had a fantastic life, but something I've tried to do with the 4 kids I've got now. Well, 4 kids. Michael's 19 now, and the oldest boy's 29. So there's 4 of them in between. But I mean, the thing there is that, you know, you do have enough time to do what you want. You just can't do everything. So start choosing wisely.
Yeah, you've led me into my last question. So what advice would the 57-year-old Geoff give to a 16-year-old Geoff? What advice would you give? Or a 16, 18-year-old Geoff?
Yeah, let's make it an 18-year-old. No, look, I was still a dickhead then. I really was. I was not a good person probably to my mid-20s. I was a arrogant little shit. I was right into martial arts, and I was very, very good at them. And you know, yeah, I wasn't good. But the advice I'd give there is pretty much what I was just saying, is that start figuring out what it is you want to do. Start figuring out what different parts of life you want to taste, and go for them. Don't get caught up in you've got to go to school, to uni, get married, white picket fence, 2.7 kids, and then at 40 you turn around and go, what the fuck happened? Why am I here? They lied to me. I mean, trust me, I really got that heavy. I'd like to avoid that. So my kids, I'm saying to them, yeah, look, go to uni, get a degree. So you've got, you know, because uni teaches you so much stuff. But when you've got that, hey, if you want to travel, go travel. Yeah. You know, if you want to go and do stuff, but don't get locked in. But understand you can't do everything. So start thinking consciously about the things that will add value or meaning or juice into your life. So that's what I'd be telling my 18-year-old is get yourself set up so that you've got something to fall back on, and then mate, get out there and start trying stuff that interests you.
Fantastic advice. Just before we close, Geoff, if people want to get in touch with you or find out a little bit more about what you do, where can they find you or contact you?
The easiest way to contact me is via email, which is Geoff, Geoff, at theclarityceo.com, or just go to the website www.theclarityceo.com, and there's a contact form on there, and I'll be happy to get in touch. And in fact, mate, if anyone gets in touch and they mention that they came to me via On the Wire, I'll give them a free 45-minute strategy call, which is worth $400.
Oh, fantastic, mate. I appreciate that. And so anyone that's listening and think they could get some value from Geoff, take that offer up, because he's a fantastic bloke to talk to, and you never know, he might be able to help you and put you in the right direction. Geoff, thanks very much, mate, for being on today. It's a real pleasure having you on, and good to catch up, and we'll get you back on a bit further down the track as we move along with On the Wire.
Terrific. Thanks very much for having me. Take care.
No worries, mate. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.